All right, thank you everyone for coming to this evening. I'm going to go ahead and call to order this meeting of the West Hollywood Planning Commission. This is a regularly scheduled meeting. In case you needed a reminder, it is Thursday, June 20th, 2019. Thank you for your patience as we had a commissioner who had an emergency, was running a little behind. So thank you for waiting. I'm going to go ahead and do the honors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance from where I stand. So if you would rise with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. David, could you please do roll call for us?
Good evening. Commissioner Hoopengarner.
Present.
Commissioner Erickson.
Present.
Commissioner Buckner.
Present.
Commissioner Bass.
Here.
Vice Chair Carvalero.
Here.
Commissioner Elchel.
Here.
Chair Jones.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4 is approval of the agenda. Do we have approval of this evening's agenda or any recommendations or requests for changes?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Erickson, seconded by Chair Jones.
I thought it was me, but okay.
And the agenda is approved.
Thank you. Item 5 is approval of the minutes from our May 16th, 2019 meeting. Do we have a motion to adopt?
Moved by Commissioner Bass, seconded by Commissioner Buckner. And the minutes are approved for May 16th, 2019 as presented, noting Commissioner Erickson as abstained.
Thank you. Item 6 is public comment. David, do we have any public speakers at this time?
We have no public speakers.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item 7, director's report. I believe Director Kehoe is not able to attend this evening. In his stead, do we have anyone to give the no updates? All right, thank you. Item 8, items from commissioners. Commissioner Erickson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's nice to be with everyone again. I feel like I haven't seen many of you for several months now because we've had some cancellations and all the fun that's been going on. I just wanted to extend my congratulations to Jackie Rocco, who was promoted to Director of Public Works for the City of West Hollywood. I worked with Jackie when I was a wee little intern at the City of West Hollywood, and I'm really glad to see that she's there, and I really want to just say congratulations in our capacity because she's an amazing City Hall employee.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hope everybody had an amazing Pride. It's the reason why our last meeting was canceled, so I hope you took full advantage of our open streets. I know that I did. All right, moving on to item 9, consent calendar. There is none, and with that, we will move into our first and only public hearing this evening. That is item 10A, 1257 North Detroit Street. Staff will present their report, and we will then have questions for staff, more on that in a moment, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to present. We'll hear from the public, then there will be a rebuttal and the opportunity again for the commission to address the applicant. We'll then close the public comment portion or the presentation portion of the hearing and move into deliberation. I just want to make a couple of quick notes about process going forward insofar as the public hearing process is concerned. I think it's been surfaced with us that questions from the commission, whether it is for staff or for legal, immediately following the presentation, as regards staff, we'd really like to limit those to questions about the presentation or about the staff report. So that's just to ensure that the public isn't swayed in whatever way, and that there is an opportunity for the applicant to do their presentation, whomever that might be. Additionally, I would like to request, as per, again, some concerns that have been surfaced with us as a commission, that we hold legal questions until the end. Totally understand that we may have a number of questions about a project, but again, just in the spirit of transparency and making sure that applicants and the public feel that they have an opportunity to weigh in and kind of hear the project in all of its glory and all of its details, that we're giving them an opportunity to do that. Any questions? Great, thank you. So with that, we will toss this over to Lori Elton. Lori, you can kick off your presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Jones and Commissioners. Before you tonight is a request to construct a new 4-story, 8-unit multifamily apartment building with 1 level of subterranean parking on an existing vacant lot. The project includes 1 affordable housing unit on site and utilizes an affordable housing concession under government code to reduce the front yard setback from the required 24.5 feet to 20 feet. The project achieves 90 green building points and requests a green building incentive to allow the common open space to be located on the roof if the project installs and maintains a vegetated roof for at least 50% of the roof. The subject property is located in the R3C zone, which allows up to 45 feet in building height. The proposed project includes the required 11 parking spaces for the project, 2 parking spaces for each of the 3-bedroom units and 1 parking space for each of the 5 one-bedroom units. The average unit size is approximately 1,150 square feet. No guest parking spaces are required for projects that provide on-site affordable housing. There is a requirement for a 10-foot sidewalk and parkway along Fountain Avenue, and consequently the property will need to dedicate an additional 5 feet, which decreases the amount of area they are able to utilize for the building. The applicant is requesting a reduced front yard setback as an affordable housing concession. The front yard setback is reduced from 24.5 feet to 20 feet to accommodate the on-site affordable unit on a narrow and substandard size lot. The average front yard setback on the subject block is approximately 18.5 feet. The site is surrounded by residential uses with varying heights. Properties to the north of the subject site are in the city of Los Angeles. To the east of the subject property is a multifamily building and a large commercial grocery store that fronts La Brea Avenue. This project was reviewed and revised a number of times through an iterative design review process to refine the building design. The proposed project was reviewed by the design review subcommittee as well as the neighborhood meeting, and the community members that attended these meetings gave the building design high praise. Our urban designer, Gwen Pugh, will further discuss the building design.
Good evening. So this is asking for the status of exemplary, and it's a subject that we've been talking about quite a bit. So while the structure is quite simple, it is also very sophisticated. The distinctive quality of base, middle, and crown break up the mass. In particular, the middle portion has a nice syncopated rhythm, and with the inclusion of the eroded balcony elements provides visual interest that would otherwise be quite mundane. The inclusion of varying materials in the exposed elements of the recessed balconies adds to the visual richness. The top floor is pulled back from the edge of the middle element and sheathed in a corrugated metal of dark color, and the roof canopy projects outward and gives a nice overall crown to the building. Urbanistically, the use of building entrance on both Detroit and Fountain and gives a quality of accessibility. Also, the ground floor units are accessed from the street. This is a nice expression of contemporary classical modernist building. This is a simple, well thought out building that uses every element to build on the design partie. It is striking and will be an asset to the neighborhood, a great example of a fabric building. It is appropriate to be regarded as exemplary. Thank you.
In conclusion, the proposed project will develop an 8-unit multifamily residential building at the corner of Detroit and Fountain on a lot that has been vacant for more than 10 years. The project is in compliance with the goals and provisions of the general plan and the zoning code in that it provides a multifamily residential housing project with an on-site affordable housing unit, which the city incentivizes and encourages. The project supports critical goals and objectives of the city's general plan and will assist the city in meeting its housing goals by providing 8 new residential units, including 1 affordable unit, to the city's housing stock. The project's residential use and architectural and urban design elements will enhance the streetscape and improve pedestrian activity along Fountain Avenue by dedicating 5 feet for a new parkway with trees along Fountain. Due to these benefits and those outlined above, staff recommends approval of the proposed project subject to the conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation. City staff and the project architect are available for any questions you may have.
Great, thank you, Lori. Do we have any questions for staff, Gwen and Lori specifically, about the staff report or their presentation at this time? No. Okay. Quickly, just a note for anyone who came in while staff was giving their presentation, if you would like to speak on this item, you're certainly not obligated to, but if you would like to, you will need to fill out a speaker slip, which you can get up there and submit it to our secretary, Mr. Gillig, here. And you'll have the opportunity to speak after the applicant gives their presentation. In the interim, we need to do disclosures. Any disclosures this evening? No. None? All right. Well, with that, I will call our applicant up to the podium. You'll have 10 minutes to present. You don't have to use the whole 10 minutes, but you're certainly welcome to them. And again, please state your name and city of residence. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Lori, thank you, Gwen. My name is Giovanni Frutaldo, and I'm a resident of West Hollywood.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, okay. My name is Giovanni Frutaldo. Good evening, everybody, and I'm a resident of West Hollywood. I'm the architect on this project that it's located at the corner of Detroit and Fountain Avenue. The lot has been vacant for a number of years, and as Lori mentioned, in addition to the setbacks of the zoning code, there's a 5-foot dedication along Fountain to provide a wider sidewalk and parkway. I happen to live not far from the site, and so I would like to guide you through the design process that we followed during this past months, working closely with the various departments at the City of West Hollywood. One of the first things that we did was actually looked at the buildings along Fountain that were seemed to be successfully negotiating the transition between a main street like Fountain Avenue and more residential local street. So what we noticed is that there was always like some kind of like linear and narrow landscape buffer between the sidewalk and the building, direct entrances to the units or stack of units from the sidewalk, and some kind of volumetric articulation of the corner. The roofs were often in a contrasting color setbacks, and the openings are generally grouped into vertical bays and present some kind of architectural articulation. We did this for a number of buildings, and with this set of strategies, we approached the design. So the first move that we did was actually to recess further the first floor in order to provide a linear landscape buffer between the widened sidewalk and where the building starts, and also to break down the mass towards the side yard that faces the residential neighborhood. We then stepped back the top floor, identified the entrance of the units at the ground floor and the entrances also to the buildings, articulated with a language of extrusion and erosions the corners of the buildings, and then identified a window pattern that would group the windows into vertical bays, and some of them would be articulated with extruded boxes. And this set of strategies have basically contributed to create a building that in a contemporary way exemplifies the traditional actually tripartition of a building into a base, a main shaft, and a crown. This is a view on Detroit Street where we can start to see the mass on the side elevation, that it's broken into 2 volumes, and the articulation of the front with the stepped back roof, the step back fourth floor, and the articulation basically with balconies that are wrapped in wood. There's also pop-up colors in the ceiling, and you're going to see also in the side elevation where possible. This is a corner view between Detroit and Fountain, with the other vertical element of the entrance on Fountain. And this close-up view of the sidewalk shows the new parkway, the extended sidewalk, and then the articulation of the ground floor with patios and the entrance of the ground floor unit that face the public right-of-way. This is important because there's going to be eyes on the street, and that contributes to the safety of this stretch of Fountain. In addition, I'm showing you the plans because working together with the input of Gwen and Lori, we articulated the plans so that the living area was always oriented towards the corner and away from the residential neighbors in order to also to preserve their privacy. And so you have bedrooms or home offices facing the rear yard and the side yard. The roof features an area for a solar panel, a community deck that is pulled back from the building edge, and a vegetated roof. The vegetated roof is part of a broader strategy to comply with all the provisions of Cal Green and also the 90 green points of West Hollywood code. In addition to that, there's a narrow floor plates. Every room has operable windows in order to facilitate cross ventilations. And also we provided, eaves and frames to the windows so that to shade and reduce heat gain during the summer. The roof is going to feature the vegetated roof, and portions of the roof where we have mechanical elements, there's going to be a cool roof used. And also the building has fans in every living room and bedrooms, does ample use of recycled content material, and the entire green point list has been submitted for your review. This is a view of the side elevation where we can see the broken volume, the front volume and a rear volume, the open walkways, and the pop of color in this light warm orange, that yellow, that basically wraps the window in the building interior. This is a view of the rear yard. And the use of materials has also been the materials that we've used have also been applied to the building in accordance with this tripartition of the base. The light color stucco of the middle portion is actually helps the building to reduce the heat gain during the summer. As you may know, that the light colors are the one that absorb less heat during the summer, while we've used the darker color in the areas that are naturally shaded because they are in recessed areas. And we've applied the warmer color and the warmer tone of woods where they would be closer to its residents. That is in the patios and in the walkways. This is a building of the view. This is a view of the building at night, and we've also submitted a site lighting plan. The lighting has been studied in order to articulate the building also at night, provide soft lighting without causing glares to the neighbors or to the passerby.
Wow, that was incredibly rude. I'm so sorry. My bad.
No, sorry, I thought it was the time. Okay, so the setback. The building, we're requesting to the building provide the one inclusionary unit at the ground floor, and so in order to do that, we would like to apply the available concession to reduce the front yard setback from 24.5 to 20. We studied the prevailing setback of the lot, and it's 18.5. In addition to that, there's a project at 1201, I believe, that was that has an approved setback of 15 feet. Across the street, the prevailing setback is 14.5. As I mentioned, there was a previous project that was entitled for this project but did not get built. From my research, that this project had actually a reduced front yard setback of 16.6, which is less than prevailing and certainly less than what we are proposing. And they also had a reduced rear yard setback of 13.6. Our setback complies with the zoning regulation of 15 feet. In addition, that project also maxed the height at 45 feet. Our building roof height is less than 42. That is 3 feet less than the available height. And the previous project also featured stair cores that went all the way to the building facade and occupied much of the roof, effectively putting the building height to almost 55 feet. In our case, instead, we kept all the roof structures away from the building edge in compliance with the zoning code. And that has determined basically a building elevation that kind of like hides all these roof structures that are necessary for, to access basically the roof. In conclusion, all these strategies that we have applied, its relation to the urban context, the articulation of the volume, and also the use of materials, they've all been geared to this idea of providing a building that was comfortable and could complement the neighborhood. That is comfortable not only for the residents, for the people that are going to live here, but also for our neighbors and in general, passerbys at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm so sorry. As a person who personally lives with my cell phone on silent so much that I have invoked the rage of family and friends, I don't know how that happened. So I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. Whew. Okay. I deserve it. Self-flagellation. All right. So we will move into public comment at this time. David, do we have any public comments?
We have no public comments.
You sure? Okay. You'd need to fill out a speaker slip, yes. We'll give you a second to do that.
You can do it after. Yeah.
Hi, just please state your name and city of residence. You'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Uzi Avneri. I live in West Hollywood. And I saw the project before. I actually went to the meeting, the neighborhood meeting for it. I just love it. I think it's a great project. Looks great on the street. I own a property not too far from there, and I think it's just, definitely the neighborhood needs it. And there's just the scale of the project as a connector between the busier La Brea and the residential streets. Just looks great. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, the applicant will have 5 minutes to rebut if you feel that you need it. You also don't have to use it. I don't want to discourage you to, but you're certainly more than welcome to use it.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Sure, and I was getting to that next. So right now, we will give, you can come up to the podium if we have any questions for the applicant. Commissioner Hoopengarner?
Excuse me. This is also for staff, I guess. The green roof, which you know me and my green, so I'm thrilled. But I have questions about building and safety because the extensive green roof goes right to the edge of the roof. And what are the safety requirements in terms of railings around that roof? Because whoever's gardening up there preferably won't want to fall off.
Okay, so the part, is this on? Okay, so the part of the roof that is accessible to the residents, the community roof, that's basically screened. With regards to the portion of the green roof actually doesn't go all the way to the edge, but there's a foot, and that's of distance from the edge, and that's because there's going to be a certain thickness of, for the roof, so we didn't want that to be visible for the street. In addition, there's going to be like some safety elements that are going where whoever has to do maintenance is basically going to attach themselves to those elements. Those are like safety lines that are all around the building, and that's how it is generally done to provide safety. But these are some of the elements that we generally do at once we go into the plan check phase.
Sure, I just want to make sure that there's nothing that's going to be structurally changed to that because it's fundamental to the look of the building, and that there's not all of a sudden going to be some railings or things that are going to change what that's going to look like. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant at this time? No? Thank you very much. So given that there are no questions for the applicant at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment portion of the hearing, and we'll move into deliberation at this time. So, Commissioner Erickson.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we need to do disclosures?
We did those at the beginning already. Nobody had any.
Oh, okay. Well,
Unless you want it.
I have no disclosures.
Right.
I just have to say that I live on Fountain outside of the distance within the properly noticed requirements, of course, so I don't have to recuse myself. And I actively run on Fountain, so I've been seeing this empty lot for, I don't know, a number of years. And I am very happy to see such a well-designed project come before us that really, I think, eloquently fits in the neighborhood. As an East Side resident myself, I like the architecture. I think it's actually fairly stunning. And I think it does fit in nicely with where I think most of the East Side will probably be heading, and especially along Fountain Avenue, where I don't know if necessarily we see projects like this that are as well thought out and I think as architecturally stunning as I've been very drawn to this project. Additionally, I'm glad to see it is a multifamily apartment building and not condos, and especially with one affordable unit from taking a vacant lot for many years and providing people with places to live. So I have no further questions. That I am in full support of this project and prepared to vote for it.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Buckner?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm also prepared to support it for pretty much the same reasons. I'm really happy to see that we're going to have a lot that's been empty for about 10 years and that we're going to add 8 more housing units, one which will be affordable. I think that's great for the city and good for the neighborhood. And I also think that the design is interesting. I wish it had a little bit more going on in the first and second level, but I still like it very much, and I think it's, especially the front elevation, I think is quite attractive, and I appreciate that. And I do think that the one thing that I'm concerned about is the parking issue. There is no guest parking provided. I'm wondering if there's a way that we could condition that we don't provide those 2 parking permits to the residents, because I think they're already short parking there, that if they do have guests, they can pick up the individual parking passes. Is that something that we could do? I'm asking staff.
Isn't that already in the code?
Uh-huh.
That any new construction not be allowed parking permits?
I'm not sure that that's been made codified, but I do think that in this particular case, 1114? Okay, good, I missed that, and I'm glad that that's there. And other than that, I'm really prepared to support this. I think it's a pretty straightforward and a nice unit building, and I think you did a good job, Mr. Architect. Thank you.
I agree.
Commissioner Altschul, do you want to make any further comment about it?
I agree.
Okay, great, thank you. Oh, Commissioner Bass?
I just think this is the right project for the right location, and I would be prepared to support the project as is.
Commissioner Hoopengarner? Sorry to put you on blast, but I don't have many options left to choose before I speak on this, so.
I do like this project. I particularly like how the first and the fourth floors are indented and create that visual space. And to that point, I would like to, also support this, but I would like to make an amendment to the resolution to limit the ability of staff to change the materials and the color, because I think especially the color is so important to that visual element on how that causes these 2 layers to recess, that if this all of a sudden ended up all white, that visual would go away. And I think it's on page, it's 9.1 on page 18 of the resolution, that it should be subject to the review and approval of planning, et cetera, but I especially wanted to, per Mr. Kehoe's comments in previous situations, that unless we say something in writing, future deciders don't know that that's important. And I would say that given the design of this, that's a particularly important component, and that the discretion on changing that should be very, very limited. I had one other question for staff. The exemplary designation, isn't that supposed to be a finding, and therefore it should be part of the resolution, because we're making a waiver of the required setback on the second, third, and fourth floors based upon that exemplary finding?
What is going on? I really don't know what's.
Exemplary design does not have findings. We've never made them.
So it's just an observation? Because
That's
we are
correct.
waiving the setbacks required.
Not as a finding.
I mean, there's a requirement that the second floor be set back, correct? In the current code, unless a finding is made that it is of exemplary design, and therefore the setback is not required.
Do we traditionally classify exemplary design and include it as a finding in staff report?
It's not a finding the way a variance has 4 specific things you have to find, but it's usually explained in the context of what's being approved and why. So Lori and Jennifer are just looking for some language to point you to in the resolution.
Okay, thank you. I do too have some concerns about the parking, more so the navigation it's a very narrow lot, and the navigation, to me, I tried to follow those plans, and it looked mind-numbingly difficult to get in and out of some of these spaces, but I will leave that up to staff and building and safety. With that, I feel like this has a lot of merit. It does all of the things that we like to see. You've got the open space, you've got the articulation. It's still white and brown, like every other building, but what else is new? And that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Caballero?
I was in support of this building when it came to design review, and I'm still in support of the building. I think it's very elegant. It has an Irving Gill Klober House moment to it, which is one of my favorite buildings. It's contextual without being repetitive, which makes it a great fabric building. Yeah, I'm in full support of the building.
Great, thank you. That leaves me. I don't have anything substantive to add to my fellow commissioners' comments. I am inclined to support the project. I would only ask that Commissioner Hoopengarner clarify insofar as the language that you've proposed adding to the resolution in the way of the change of materials. I want to make sure that it comes back to us if there's a significant change, but also would defer to legal insofar as what that language looks like, so that it's not any change, just a change that would trigger a review.
So condition 9.12 talks about all the materials and the details, and there's a long list. And then subsection N at the bottom says, any minor change of the approved plans shall require an amendment for review and approval by the director. And we could add something specifying that exterior color changes shall require approval by the planning commission.
Commissioner Hoopengarner, can you clarify if it's the color specifically or it's the materials that lend to the color that you're concerned about?
I think it's both. I mean, the design is very elegant in that it's integrating metals and woods and different directions and different materials but in specific, I mean, when you look at the renderings here, et cetera, it is the fact that the materials on the top and the bottom are considerably darker than the sides, and it causes that visual drawing in of the space. And so should those all of a sudden become white, that visual drawing in will disappear. So I will leave it to legal to help us come up with the right words. I just feel that it's important that 9 months from now, 2 years from now, somebody forget how important that was to our deliberations, and that goes away. And so I don't know, Lauren, if you've got words.
Maybe exterior color and contrast changes, because that's what it really is. It's the contrast
Contrast is good.
between the
I
two,
like
that
that.
those changes would require planning commission approval.
I'm comfortable with that, but I would defer to the rest of the commission. So are we ready to, do we want to read this back, or?
9.1.
I believe we're adding language to the resolution. Well, I want to have Lauren read it into, the city attorney read it into the record, and then you can have you read your motion, if that's okay.
Are you talking about N?
Yeah.
I don't know what. That's what they want you to read into the.
So the motion that's currently on the floor is to approve the project with the addition of,
It's condition 9.12, subsection N. At the end, we would add language that says, an exterior color and contrast changes require planning commission approval.
all right.
Did we address where it says in the resolution about the exemplary design?
It's not in the resolution, and it would probably go in 2.3 So 2.0 is the project description, and that's where you list what the project is and all the concessions and green building incentives and all of those things. So we could add a condition 2.5, which reads, yeah. We could just say project qualifies as exemplary design. Thank you, David. And shall not require additional
6-foot step back.
6-foot step back
Second floor and above.
on second floor and above.
All right. Is everyone aligned? Are we ready to call the question?
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously as amended. The resolution the Planning Commission just approved memorializes the Commission's final action on this matter. This action is subject to appeal to the City Council. Appeals must be submitted within 10 calendar days from this date to the City Clerk's office. Appeals must be in writing and accompanied by the required fees. The City Clerk's office can provide appeal forms and information about a waiver of fees.
Thank you. So we'll move along to item 11, which is new business. There is none. Item 12 is unfinished business. There is none. Item 13, excluded consent calendar. There is none. Item 14A is items from staff. 14A is planning manager's update.
None this evening.
Thank you, David. Item 15 is public comment. Do we have any public comments, David?
We have no public comments.
Thank you. Item 16, additional items from commissioners. No? All right, well, with that, we will adjourn this meeting. We will reconvene here to a regularly scheduled meeting on Thursday, July 18th at 6:30 p.m. Look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much for coming out this evening.
It's thinking by itself.
I just have that's never happened. Like, I literally, my dad's always like, why do you never pick up your phone? I'm like, because I never hear it, because I don't ever have it, like, it's not even on vibrate.
Take it last. Yeah.